At this scale, it's like, it could be anything.
That's the one it reminds me of the most. Wasn't this organized?
That's a Gorgangian, right?
Which one?
Oh, that's
Oh,
well
that's
fine
the-
there now.
These are all octocorals.
It has to be really, really close to the transom for us to be upset with it.
Sorry.
The other thing to look at too is the wire angle this way. So it's okay.
Yeah, the closest I can see. Calitrophora, maybe. Calitrophora.
Do we have a pH reading at this depth?
pH reading.
Negative, I don't believe so.
No, we have salinity, but not pH.
What sparks your question, Scott?
The
Wow.
internet?
This big mound is not
One of
really
our viewers
indicated
wanted
in
to
the
know
map, is
if
it?
we knew what the pH is down here.
No, and I'm not sure that's a parameter that's
Jess,
going
I'm
to be
just
measured
gonna
as part
spin
of the
around
sampling
here.
process either.
As we pass it,
So
maybe
that might
follow
be
me
for
around.
future expedition.
So are we going to be heading down that?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and stay relatively on the line, but I'm gonna have to turn and face all this stuff.
Yeah, okay. I think we might have a little octopus right there on the ledge.
Yeah, looking up.
Hey, Ann, one of our viewers' favorite organism on this trip has been the Xenophilophoria. You remember the large unicellular multi-nuclei organism? I think we actually saw one back a little bit by the sponge. They want to know, do we know how they eat or what they eat?
I don't know, but if I had to venture a guess, it would be they're probably
zoom
eating
in
all
there,
this
video.
marine snow.
Yeah, because they aggregate it as part of their structure, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's they probably do that. Oh. Okay, so it's facing uphill.
Willie, that's a great question, and I bet if you hang with us till the next shift, when the amazing Amanda will be on, if anybody knows, it's her.
Right.
Wow,
There's
look at that awesome
There's
green.
one right there. Ask and you shall receive. There was a xenophytophore right there.
There you go.
Can we also zoom in on that yellow
Sponge?
I mean, or greenish sponge,
beautiful.
right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It looks very similar to that gray one we were seeing earlier.
Crusting sponge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a couple different sponges just in that view alone. And then can we just pan up to see if we can see a little bit more detail on the legs of that octopus?
Sure.
It's hard to say, but there might be, let's see. Hard to
Come
tell.
wide a little bit.
We're trying to determine
That's good.
if a lot of these singletons we see on the edges are males versus females. Hard to say here. The arms are tucked away. Okay, thank you.
Full wide.
It's very interesting on these ones that we're seeing out here, and we're asking about those arms. It's always that third arm that seems to be tucked away, too.
Yes.
I wonder if
The males
there's any correlation there.
Well, the males seem to tuck it away. But some females also roll up their arms when they're resting like that, so it's hard to know for certain that it's tucked away because it's a male. Wow, this is so steep.
What's that? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
To answer your question, Scott, it's thought by researchers in 2004, Lara Ledard, Mejanel, and Suet, that the xenophyophores are basically extracting some nutrients from mucus that forms within their structure.
Maybe that mucus,
And that is where they get their energy from.
is that mucus
Not
being
going to be
used
able to go down much
collect
further, am I?
some of this marine snow?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so this is a blog by SchachterASMblog.org, if anybody wants to check
just
that out.
keep an eye on it. Come down, follow me
Thank
down as
you.
low as you can. Or
There you go, Willie. Rob and Michelle are eating their breakfast in the UK, and they would like to know if the octopus is the apex predator down here, or is there or was there a species that preys upon them?
Well, I wouldn't say we know completely how the food web out here works. We're still studying and learning. We haven't seen, all the brooding octopus are in a stage where they're no longer eating anything, but some of these ones that are on the edges roaming around, they may be still out and hunting and consuming shrimp, crab, or other animals that they are encountering out here. We also have the fish that we've seen, the grenadier.
we're just off the side here now, kind of.
And the giant cusk-eels that can be predators. But they're probably the ones that are most likely to consume the other animals that we've been seeing. And I wouldn't be surprised if cusk-eels and grenadier might consume baby, like the juvenile octopus, the hatchlings, as they're swimming away. Any other thoughts?
I suspect the shrimp are
that?
a pretty big predator.
Yeah, I
towards
can't
the
really
octopus.
see it anymore. So
But
it's
as far
just,
as apex predator
this
at
is
the
really all I
site,
have to look at
yeah,
now.
I agree with you. I
This
don't
kind of dropped off and then
think we
went
really
down
know
like
the
this.
answer to that question yet. Does Davidson, the bigger seamount feature, have? Do you guys have a good idea?
I guess sometimes, like, I guess when you...
I mean, I think it would be the fish and the octopus and...
Do you guys see a lot of mammals in the?
Not down
Davidson?
interacting with the seamount proper. Around the seamount, in
Right.
the water column, we have marine mammals that can be, and can dive pretty deep. I mean, I'm sure sometimes a sperm whale will be in the area. And but most of the whales we see out there are baleen whales that are feeding on the krill.
Swim away.
There's lots of seabirds, but again, they don't go very deep, but you can see like elephant seals. And elephant seals can dive pretty deep and eat fish.
They're carnivorous,
and,
right?
Yeah, they eat fish and they can eat octopus for sure.
See, it's starting to come back out and look like it does on the map
There's
now.
nothing. We are entering some pretty barren track ahead. If you look at the Argus view, there's no bright reflectors.
This goes along with the question, hey y'all, it's late here, but keep on swimming. What do you hope to find tonight? I think that's a great question. And I always like to remind people that this is exploration. So I guess for me, what I would hope to find tonight is something we've never seen before.
Definitely.
That is the wonder and joy that is exploration. And with so much of our land explored and we know so much about it, I don't know that we expect or hope to find things like that on land, yet we still do once in a while. But down here with so little of the ocean mapped and explored, could be just beyond the shadows.
Well, and that's the hard part, right? Is we've picked these transects that we're going down, and as you can see, we can see an area of the seafloor along this transect, but the really cool thing could be just out of view, and we missed it this time. But hopefully these transects will take us over some new and exciting features on the seafloor or communities that we haven't known about, or undescribed species. And the first step in learning more about them is to first see them and know where to go back to find them again. But we're also hoping to find some other aggregation areas for the octopus where we might see some more seeping warm water. And so that's what we're actively looking for as we search. And then, of course, looking for those unusual things we've never seen before.
I don't think you guys viewing can see the type of feature that we're on. So we're on a little geological, what one might describe as an outcrop that's only about 150 meters tall and maybe a kilometer long. And we're just running long lines down the length of this feature back and forth, as
Zoom right in there, video. I'll just go by it.
commonly described as mowing the lawn. And so you go back and forth, and it's just to get an aerial survey of what's there.
We also had one octopus up and to the right.
What? Look at that. Awesome. Is that an anemone?
Yeah, there's an anemone on there in an area where the polyps are missing.
That's very cool.
Earlier, Scott mentioned that
Okay, come on.
shallow water anemones can have these, what did you call them, along the base, where they can fend off each other?
Yeah, the agaraji, or the battle tipped tentacles.
Well, some of these deep sea corals have something similar along the base of the stalk. And those are believed to help try and keep some of the crawling animals from, like sea stars, from coming up and starting to consume the polyps higher up. So they have some defensive mechanisms along their base.
Very cool.
There we see a grenadier fish up, and that looks like the ghostly grenadier I was talking about, where
Yeah.
the
Another
animal
solitary
is,
octopus there.
Yep.
What is our bottom time so far?
How long? So let's see.
It's been about 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
Bottom
Yeah.
yesterday at this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So
It's going a lot better than it was then.
yeah, we were the first watch to hit bottom.
I don't know. Yesterday we got some nice respiration rates. That was, we
Yes.
made good use of that time.
Thanks
We
for
did.
the positive attitude. It's appreciated.
Very meditative.
We had oh, can we just pan a little to the right? I just want to
Data's
see
data,
whether or not-
so it's all
I think
good.
there is an octopus up there.
Way up there, yeah.
Yeah, just noting that it was there.
This
Looks
is
like it's facing us. We're back into some softer bottom here. And this dive is definitely going to last through this watch at a minimum. And then sometime in the morning we're going to recover the ROVs, empty our samples, and get it prepped to go back in the water to move along to another location that we've identified and follow some contour lines and see what else new and exciting things we can find down here.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for some neat discoveries because the areas that we're going to explore on the next dive are also on the edge of the seamount out towards where we are.
Look at that large sea star. It's kind of like the size of the Brazingid stars we've been seeing, but only with 5 arms.
I really like Brazingid stars when they have all their arms extended up into like a pumpkin frame.
Like that.
Yeah, I just think that's so neat. It reminds me very much of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm.
Is that an octopus up ahead?
Yeah.
Right on the line.
All right, who wants to be counted? So earlier when we came up to relieve the 4 to 8 for dinner, we saw some other octopus that were in this similar extended reaching posture. They kind of are holding their arms up into the water column. We said they were voguing. Even if we zoomed, I don't think we could tell whether that was a male or female because we couldn't see the appropriate arms to make that determination. And if people are wondering, we're actually going to use this video to count octopus later and get a better handle on how many we've seen here. Because you may have heard us say that we've seen over 1,000. That's just a very rough estimate.
Another one right on the line. She's got her arms buried.
That third one again.
Definitely starting to see more of them now.
Yeah.
Was it this year that you guys got that great video of the gaper eel? Or was that last year?
That was last year.
The
The gulper eel.
Gulper eel,
yeah.
that's right, not gaper eel, gulper eel. That was last year?
Is that the really dark thing that looks like it flips its mouth around?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the last year, I think.
That was last year, okay. This was, I don't know, the seafloor here was reminding me of it. Just that.
I have to Google this. Called it the gulper eel.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah. There's so many great videos on Nautilus Live that it can be a real time suck when you start watching them all.
He's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. How far down this line are we?
A third?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, like, why is that, a third of it? Something like that?
So we've been going down for about a half an hour, I think. What time did the transect start exactly?
Oh, so I logged it, but that was a while back.
I was thinking it was
Yeah.
maybe 30 minutes ago or so.
Yeah, very soon after we got off on shift.
I think it was longer.
No, it
yeah.
took us a while to get in position before
Yeah,
we
it-
started. I thought it took about an hour to get
Yeah.
really started.
What time is it?
About
We're-
1:30.
Yeah, we're an
Oh,
hour and a
wow.
half into watch right now.
Yeah, it took us about an hour to get to the point.
Yeah. So we've gone about a third of it in 30 minutes, so okay. Might be able to do another one. Be great.
And this one we're going 11 to 12.
Point-wise?
Yeah, point-wise.
Hmm?
The next one we would do would be on the other side of the array, so
Right.
we take a little time to transit up there, but I think we can still
Okay.
do
I like
it.
it better
Cool.
down here than the one we did last night, though, because we don't have to go. The one was like up plateau and goes down.
Yeah.
This one's like skirting, but at least it's mostly the same. It just varies in severity a bit.
You guys mentioned that you'll go back and count the octopus.
Wow,
You-
one,
Oh,
two,
here's
get
the
three,
that
view.
done.
4
Wait.
in a line. No, 3. No, 1.
Yeah, no, some of those are anemones, yeah. Just the one.
They don't contrast nearly as well as on the sediment bottom when they're upright as they
Yeah.
do when they're
They're definitely harder to see here.
inverted on the basalt.
And some of these anemones are tricking the eye. What were you saying?
You had mentioned that eventually you'll go back and count the octopus that we surveyed on this dive. Who gets to do that job?
I am not the person who will be doing that. I don't know
Okay.
exactly who it is, but I think we have some funds to support someone to do that, and they may have already been set up. I'm just not part of that process of setting it up, so I don't have the details. But it's great to get this video, and then it's even better to process it where you're actually going to be marking the physical location where all of the octopus have been seen. So not only do we get a count, but we'll have a geolocation
Yeah.
where they are and where we see higher densities, and when we see those densities associated with specific features. We then have potential targets when we go back to drop down the ROVs. And then we can do more measurements. Like you were saying, you know, what's the pH? Maybe we're going to want to come back and figure that out in certain areas. So where would we want to go? This will help us figure that out. I guess for context, just so people know, like, there's other regions where we'd be going along the soft bottom like this, and if we saw one octopus, we'd be like, wow, stop, woo, cool octopus. And now we're like, yep, octopus. You know, but usually you don't see nearly this many, so.
True, I was thinking about that the other day. We usually stop everything and go after one, and then
Yeah.
we're surrounded by them zooming in on anemones and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Got some great footage of octopus last week when you were in the Greater Farallones and Coral Bank National Marine Sanctuaries. I think most of the times you were seeing the giant Pacific octopus.
Yes, yeah. And we saw a couple little flapjack
Oh,
Yeah,
did you?
leave it alone.
pieces as well.
Yeah, was Argus, I haven't been watching Argus very much. Is it typically where the last hit, right around here? Yeah, leave them alone.
Do the giant Pacific octopuses interact with the vehicles like our moose octopuses do?
I don't know if they've ever gotten. We've been
Close.
getting so close to the octopus, trying to put sensors in and amongst them. I think we've been interacting with them more than you normally would, but I have seen videos on Nautilus Live where octopus have interacted with Hercules. That's when Herc's been doing some work like setting instruments or other things. So, but I think generally they don't interact with the ROV from what I've seen.
Well, octopuses typically they're found singular, right? I mean, the idea that we're finding these guys, or the fact that we're finding these guys in clusters in itself is quite interesting.
Yeah. But the giant Pacific octopus, at least the two that I saw, that they saw last week, had such beautiful coloration. They were like, the
Yes.
texture of
easy.
the skin and the colors, they reminded me of dragons.
They camouflage, right? They change colors.
They were doing a lot of different colors and textures. The octopus we're looking at, these moose octopus, that you definitely have seen them change the texture of their skin. We haven't seen much change in the coloration. That we have seen a few that aren't just the purplish grayish white, but actually were whiter in the middle and almost maroon margins around the edge of the animal. So I think it's possible they can alter their coloration a bit, but not to the extent we see with some other octopus species. What's that down and to the left? Kind of a dark mass. Is there any to just peek over there real quick?
Did you hear that? Mike,
What's that?
down
Sorry.
and to the left.
Down and to the left, it's kind of,
You want to go look at it?
I'm curious. It's right, it's below the lasers.
Little yellowy thing?
To the right of the yellow sponge. So I just see a lot of dark.
Looks like
Oh,
this-
it's just
Oh,
the
it's
edge
the
of the
rock.
rock.
Oh, yeah, it's
I'm
just a
sorry.
rock,
I
yeah.
couldn't tell. Never mind. Not interesting.
You all good?
Yep. Never mind.
Late night eyes.
When they start looking like planes.
And
then
dragons.
You know.
Is that another grenadier? Or is that a cusk?
No, that's
Yeah.
a grenadier. Yeah, I think that's a grenadier. Uniform
Yeah.
coloration, I think. Yeah. So we know that these octopus end up senescing and dying after they brood, complete their brooding, but we don't see a lot of those animals dead on the seafloor. So we know that a lot of these other animals are doing a good job of consuming them and cleaning them up pretty quickly after they die. Maybe the grenadier help with that.
Be great to see that, huh?
That would be very interesting to see. Definitely when larger organisms die and fall to the seafloor, you can see quite a flurry of activity around the carcass if, say, a whale fall was found. We did find one of those 2 years ago in the Channel Islands, and that kind of speaks to that whole excitement of exploration. You know, there could be a whale fall just over the next rise here. We just don't know, but it was quite a find.
This is a great contact between the rubble area and the sediment. Oh, if they wanted to understand more about the heat flow in this area, they might come up to this kind of contact and take the temperature of the earth with a big probe, a big thermometer they stick in, and look for changes in the heat as they move along.
Oh,
But they
okay.
like these contacts for running perpendicular too. And one of the reasons that you'll see a change in your heat differential is because when we were talking about how the fluid that is discharging here has entered the crust at some other site, one of the reasons that it is able to discharge at a specific localized site is because the compaction of the sediment over it is so difficult for the pore fluid to escape from. There's such little diffusion out of that. And so most of the fluid is concentrated to a rocky discharge site.
So rocks with cracks in them.
Yeah, and so that's why the temperature will increase as you get towards the rocks, because more fluid is able to get out.
Got it.
The thicker the sediment package, the harder it is for the heat to escape.
So we're back
If
into
you-
an area where we see these jellies moving
Yeah.
along down current.
If you're just joining this, I'm Scott Simon. I'm the Science Communication Fellow Um, we're in the control van with Ashley, our video engineer, Jess, our Argus pilot, Mike on Hercules, Aaron is our navigator. We've got Jen and Annie, our scientists in the back, along with Magda.
Our very important data logger.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
the data
She's-
logger.
She's keeping track of everything back here.
She's got all sorts of detailed handwritten notes and computer written notes.
The silent storm.
Answering our
I
questions.
try.
Yes. Ready here for any questions you have out there in the
How are we
late
doing
night
on
world
viewers?
of Nautilus Live.
Okay, who do we have with us right now, Scott?
Let's see. Let's do an international shout out, shall we?
Yes. I love
Um,
hearing all the different countries.
US, UK, France, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, Switzerland, Canada, Belgium, Serbia, Romania, Israel, Hong Kong, and the land of my grandmother, Finland.
Wow.
Well, welcome everyone. So glad to
Yeah.
have you with us. So is this an area where they would also be interested, the interface between the sediment and the rock? Okay.
Sometimes I like to think of these outcropping features as like a little underwater mountain that's been buried partially by sediment. And so what we're seeing is just the top of them exposed. This is a very small one compared to the bigger feature of Davidson Seamount itself, but it's the general idea is still the same.
There we see an octopus again with the tips of the arms extended. Another one in the distance there. I think we could get it. That one's in the right orientation to try and see that third arm.
Yeah, I can come down, take
Oh,
a
there's
look.
one
And
on
there's
the-
one on the wall as well.
Two more up there.
Yep.
Zoom in there, video.
One, two, three tucked away. Number three's tucked.
Nice
It
job,
looks
Ashley.
different, but come on, move your second arm.
I know that second arm is in the way. Come on. Oh, hard to tell.
Very modest animals.
What we're looking for is to see if that end of the third arm is modified into what's called a
Hexacaudalus.
hexacaudalus. For some reason, that word doesn't always want to just roll off the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
And that would tell us this was a
All right,
male.
full wide.
I think there's quite
Has a small
possible there's
groove
that.
in it
That's a
if it's
male.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That behavior is
of the tucking
common among
away.
them.
Yeah.
so. Just if I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but there was a little patch of sea stars over down.
Oh yeah.
Over down there, yeah.
And a couple octopus were up on this wall.
Yep. So we're starting to get into more rocky regions again.
Kind of to truck it for a minute here, folks. Let's get
What's
back up.
that?
Just gonna have to go by this little guy for a minute.
Oh sure, no problem.
Get back up ahead.
Yeah, we
here.
don't need to look at every one. It's just sometimes when they're in the right orientation, we might see that arm.
Yeah.
That's a dark one.
Yeah.
With the grenadier?
Yeah, or maybe it's just the lighting.
I think it's partly the lighting, but I heard Erica earlier saying that some of the grenadier have fungus along the base of their dorsal fin.
Is
No,
there fungus
no, just
among
get
us?
back up
There
in
is
line.
fungus among
Start
us,
down.
some of the grenadier, and they're going back and looking at video with Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute to look at the incidence
There we
of this fungus among us, the grenadier. One, two. I think there was a
It looks
curved
like it was
third
curled
arm
up.
there. I
Yeah.
think that was probably a male. A lot of these, I think, singletons on the edges are males. Not all of them, but
Interesting, they all have very similar poses too.
Suggestive that they're probably all doing very similar functions.
well, as we discussed earlier, it's voguing.
We have a whole bunch of male models.
Yeah, we don't know if they're out here trying to find their way to the aggregations of females, or if they're out here
Might be
as
foraging.
foraging. Yep, because we know the females are not eating when they're brooding, but we don't really know if the males stop eating at any point. The males do potentially senesce at some point, also because with Mbari we did come across a male that seemed to be senescing. What we haven't seen any of are juvenile octopus.
Well, would we
So-
know what they looked like?
Well, I mean, just smaller octopus. Anything's like, they have to get from hatchling size to adult size. We haven't found anything in that intermediate size class.
Was anyone awake for the hatchlings, the young little ones this morning?
No, I
No.
didn't see that.
Oh, wait, they saw it again this morning.
There was a
Oh,
whole-
wait, yeah, this morning, like yesterday morning. I was awake for that. That was awesome. That was at the vertical vent. We saw like 10 or something.
She's in a time warp over here.
Just
I
all
can
kinds
relate
of
to that.
Everything.
blurs together.
I can't believe it's only Tuesday morning. Like yesterday was a holiday, so I wouldn't have had class, and it was just Monday.
Wow, look at the, this is a very tall coral.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That was a neat hatchling event because one of the things we had the opportunity to see was a little red-headed shrimp interact with one of the hatchlings, and the hatchlings seemed to get away.
Yeah, so I heard.
Success.
Were they battling each other?
It seemed like one was, maybe the shrimp was trying to carry away the baby octopus for
Oh.
perhaps a meal,
Feisty.
maybe just to hang out.
Buddies?
New friends.
Look at this rock as we're
That's
going
very
by. It's
interesting, yeah.
covered with all sorts of life. We have corals, we have sponges, we have brisingid stars, we have a, you can see a kind of dark grayish purple large anemone, and many different kinds of sponges, white and blue and vase, and there's a Galathea crab on there. That's that white, some people call them squat lobster.
Is that name just because they're like little and like a little tiny kind of derogatory name?
You yawned and now I'm fighting it. Okay, I got through it. No yawning here. I don't know. I mean, they
Sort
do
of look
kind
like
of
they're
look
in a little
lobster-like.
Yeah, and on a little squatting position.
Uh-huh. They're really cool looking up close.
Are they fuzzy? They look fuzzy.
A little bit. There's more than one species down here.
Yeah, I've noticed we've seen some really bright white ones, and then we've seen some like more yellowish off-white.
Yes. Wondering. Could that
Oh.
have been the one that was covered by stuff? And we just,
Yeah, Holothuroidea.
yeah, I mean, that's just, they're all sea cucumbers are I mean, that's just the grouping of sea cucumbers, so it's not very informative.
Well, what if I do Holothuroidea species 1?
I think that's just the nomenclature of this book.
So we have this really great guide put together by one of the Monterey Sanctuary's scientists.
Erica Burton.
And it's got a whole plethora of observations they've made previously within this region and identifying the different organisms down to the species if they
Oh,
can.
wow, check this out.
It's so
Face
cool.
to face with a grenadier. Hello.
That's beautiful. Well, that's cool.
It is beautiful. You gotta love the fish. Well, so Erica's the lead on the taxonomic guide, along with folks from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute and Andrew DeVogler, the research coordinator at Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. It's very helpful to have these guides of all the organisms that have been seen out here, and we spent so much time coming back to look around since we found the octopus garden, and I think we have made new observations that this is going to have to get updated to reflect that. And there'll be oh, there's a little octopus off to the left, tucked in there.
He looks very purple.
Yeah.
Is that guide online?
It is online. It's available if you go to the Monterey Bay Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary's website, and you go under the research component and look for technical reports. You can find the Davidson Seamount Field Guide. There's also one for Sir Ridge. Sir Ridge is shallower than Davidson Seamount, so they have overlapping fauna, but each have some fauna that the others doesn't have. There we see another octopus kind of out next to a squat lobster. And then the nice thing about these guides, because sometimes you'll see guides for places and there's just a lot of lists of the species that have been observed, but here we have a photo for almost every entry, and that really helps it to be more interesting to look through and helpful for us when we're out here.
Yeah.
Is that a little octopus off to the left? I
Yeah.
can't quite, okay.
Yeah.
So Erin, how are we doing on our transect?
We
About halfway?
pretty
Or-
well. We have 450-ish meters to go.
Okay.
Ship's doing well. Moving along.
Oh wow, look at that little branch. I mean,
It's just kind of like fuzzy. What is that? Oh no, that's a black coral, isn't it? Down there?
yeah.
Or were you looking at something different?
No, I think we were looking at the same thing. I couldn't quite distinguish the fine details. of
Yeah.
it.
I think we have a little octopus off to the left. It's funny, we see oh, there's one and there's one. But when we start to add these up, all these solo observations of octopus, it's gonna be quite a few. And then the areas where they have higher density, you start to count one screenshot. You can have 35 to 50 in just one frame. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the counter's gonna be busy. And then that's still just a rough estimate because a lot of these octopuses are able to get into holes and crevices and under ledges that we can't necessarily get a good imagery of from the ROV surveys. And so the most we're going to have like a minimum approximation, which is probably still going to be in the thousands.
Yeah. Well, like today we were at the Octopus Garden, which was that original site you see in the video from last year where there's kind of a shelf with a big rock wall behind it. And then we started looking around and that rock wall had this like cool little canyon area behind it and all these octopus tucked in. And so there's going to be many more than we'll have seen just through these surveys, but this is going to get us closer. Ooh, a ctenophore off and to the right.
And then how do you count when you're counting the octopuses and you actively see hatching? Right? Do you have to then count the babies or are you just counting the adults?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we'd have to differentiate them so we can get an adult count. And then maybe, because if you really wanted to start counting babies, you've got all those like eggs.
Right? And then it's like, at what point do you count it as developed?
Okay, so here's one that has a little bit of that, I think that edging, the darker edging around some of the arms.
I can kind of see it in the web.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Any idea why we haven't seen any Great Pacific octopus on this dive?
Oh, Great Pacifics don't come down this deep. So we're at depths that are way below the depths you would find a Great Pacific octopus.
What is the maximum depth we've
Oh, you
found
had to
them
go
at,
and
do you-
ask me that one, huh? I know it's too deep, but I don't know the max depth, but I think we can look it up. So hold on.
Okay.
I was going to say that you were talking about counting things, and some of our viewers might be interested in this, but if they've ever gone onto websites like Zooniverse, where, what is it?
2 kilometers.
2 kilometers. So the Great Pacific Octopus can go down to 2 kilometers deep.
So that's about 2,000 meters?
Right. So that would be the top of the Davidson Seamount is within the range of the Great Pacific Octopus, just not the base.
A little over a mile deep.
Yeah.
And we're about a mile and a half, 2 miles deep.
2 miles, yeah. So, but I was going to say, if that job of counting the octopus sounds interesting, there are researchers from other research projects who upload imagery onto Zooniverse, and so that citizen scientists can help them count things. I've seen projects on there where where there's photographs from cameras for penguin rookeries, and you can mark all the adult penguins and the chicks and the eggs, and it's really fun. You go like, oh, I'll just try this, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, just do one more picture. I'll just do one more picture.
Well, and with the octopus, it's really quite simple, right? You just count the arms and then divide by 8.
Or you could count the center, divide by 1.
So this is just for a rough estimate, correct? Because we've been changing heading, changing zooms.
Yes, definitely.
We got one coming up.
If you're following us, there has been a change in the control van.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mike is now on Argus, and Jess is piloting Hercules.
What a large anemone down there in front of that octopus.
Oh, yeah.
Might be interesting to viewers to know that we didn't even know this area was here 2 years ago. Meaning this feature on the seafloor around Davidson Seamount. We didn't know it existed until
I think October 18th of last year.
No, well, that's when we found the octopus on it. But the year prior to that, Nautilus, in transiting somewhere else, had stopped and done some mapping for us in this area of Davidson Seamount, and that's how we first found this feature. That then we decided to go visit the following year when they came back to the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. So mapping is a key component in exploration as well, so that we can find new places to go that look interesting from the maps, and then you visit to see what kind of close-up geology you can observe and the associated organisms.
October
mapping.
29th.
What's that?
It was October 29th that you guys, last year, that you found the octopuses.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think that's the day that the video went up, but we probably found it a day or two before that.
Yeah, sometime between the 25th and the 29th.
Yeah, because I had to leave the ship after we found it, and that was before Halloween. Because I missed out on all the great Halloween costumes that everyone was wearing right before the expedition ended.
A shout out to Magda from one of our viewers.
Oh, hi. Is it my mom? Probably. Hey, Mom.
All I have is anonymous.
Oh,
It
We'll
might,
see.
Okay. It might be my parents.
Thank you.
what were some of the best Halloween costumes that you've seen people wear on Nautilus?
Gulp reel.
Gulp.
Sam.
Sam was a gulp reel?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Really? How'd she pull that off?
They used like metal coat hangers to
Mhm.
make a frame, and then they put plastic garbage bags, and it just kind of wrapped over her shoulder, and its head was right
Oh.
here. It was
So it was
pretty
like a
awesome.
gulper eel stole.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
exactly. I think
that
it was
is cool.
It was a Sam Ethan creation. It was pretty darn cool. My bubble wrap siphonophore was pretty good too.
Nice.
Oh yeah, because that would look a lot like it. Oh, are you I can't hear you, Jess. Or you're not talking to us?
Not
don't know
SPL
if she
appropriate.
wants-
Oh, sorry. Okay. Never mind.
Inappropriate.
It was somebody else's Halloween
Never
costume
mind,
from another
never
Halloween.
mind, never mind. Never mind.
Well, that's okay. Somebody else's costume was a. Can I tell him? I'll leave it. Well, yeah, that's fine. They were Sugar Mama. And she had a bag of sugar with her.
My high school, people in one of the classes had to keep track of a bag of flour as part of a project too. It was their flour sack baby, and they had to get babysitters for it and do the economics of like if they had to be feeding it, and just to kind of start to
It's good.
get a window into what it would like to have a dependent. And you had to watch that flour sack because some people would steal them and throw them off the balcony if you weren't paying close attention.
Oh, wow.
And that was not good for your grade.
That's rough.
Wait, you can't throw children off?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. Oh, is there any way to get a zoom on that one octopus there? The arms are out.
Yeah, sure.
Another Voger.
This is a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
go
distracting.
ahead,
or
video.
Oh,
anything.
there's
look.
two.
Look at that
Yeah,
one
there's
over there
one
too,
further
almost
downhill
mirroring it.
It's like it has a modified
One,
appendage.
two,
right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a male.
Hello.
You want to see the other one before we go?
We could just pan over there. Sure.
Sure. Go ahead and come wide, please.
That one looks a little beat up too.
Right? Because that
Those
second
front-
arm looks
Uh-huh.
modified as well. Not in the same way.
But this kind of makes that point, you know, unless you turn the cameras to look down, you're going to just go by things sometimes and miss
Yeah,
them.
video and push on in.
No, I think this looks more like a female. Right?
No.
Wait.
No, you can see the modification.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong one. Okay.
He's just not keeping
Two
it tucked up
males.
so much.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at arm 2, not 3 for a second there. Okay. Lots of males along the edges here.
All right, come wide, please.
Thank you. This isn't marine themed, but there was a fun Halloween costume I saw one time. This person came to the party wrapped in Christmas wrap, you know, and he was the ghost of Christmas presents.
That's cool.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like
Like-
little abstract
like-
ones, make
Yes.
you think a little bit.
Yeah, let's play on words.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question about any previous studies done with octopus to see if they release pheromones, hormones, or anything as an I'm here kind of signal to get around the complete dark down there. And another question somewhat related, do the males mate with many females or just one? And do they also die after mating? Again, this is just so new and exciting to us. These are great questions. And we're just scratching the surface on these, just getting a handle on how many are down here, and if there might be ways of determining if there are other areas like this with them. All great questions for future studies. I don't know, Annie or Jennifer, if you know that answer for perhaps other octopus, maybe the giant Pacific octopus being half the depth, it's still pitch black down there. Do you know anything about their reproductive biology?
Not in detail, but my understanding is that males could, so what they're, we were looking at this modified third arm, the hectocotylus, and males use that to pass a packet of sperm to the female, place it under the mantle cavity of the female, and then she can use that to fertilize the eggs. Females could accept packets from multiple males, and males, I believe, can produce multiple packets of sperm. So the female will control, though, I believe, which, if she has more than one packet, is used to fertilize the eggs. That's my understanding.
Really?
So she has some control there. And I don't know enough about the longevity of these animals to have a sense of how long the males might be in a reproductive phase before they ultimately senesce and die. And maybe we'll just have to
That's a nice wall.
keep studying them to learn more about them. As far as finding each other in the dark, and whether they release any pheromones and hormones. I mean, pheromones and hormones will help them find each other, potentially, but not necessarily help them navigate around and find prey or other things like that. So it could be that some chemicals help them to find each other.
I suppose we could speculate too, again, with the females being in those near the seeps, the evidence with the shimmers that perhaps they could carry some sort of scent off to the males. And again, totally speculative, but given the number of females that we see compared to the males, that you might think that they would also, so few males, given the number of females, that there are probably multiple matings going on. But again,
maybe, but
all just speculation.
But if you think about it, we're seeing a lot of males in these kind of low density border areas, and there's a lot more area over which they're distributed than these masses of kind of high density brooding aggregations of females. So I don't know, when we start to count it up, it'll be interesting to see what we think the gender ratio is. It may be fairly balanced if we could really extrapolate over the available area where we see the males.
Right.
Plus the males are, I mean, these organisms can swim, and there's a lot of other, this region is pretty big, so they don't necessarily have a reason to stay at this particular spot like the females do. Once they brood, they're pretty much stuck here. The males have the flexibility to go elsewhere.
Through Argus Cam, we have at times seen them swimming past, so some of those may be swimming in response to wanting to move away from the lights and noise that we're creating, but it could be that some are just swimming too as their normal mode of transportation.